Hello, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Women of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Women of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Today, I have a very special guest who has an incredible story. Today with me is Anna Hilberry, and she is the Wealth Management Advisor with National Bank. Welcome, Anna, to the Women of Inspiration podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm incredibly excited to be here today.
So I was really looking forward to having you on the podcast because you and I, when we first actually spoke, we had a sister moment almost of,
Yeah.
kind of similar paths, and roads of adversity, but you would never know that by looking at us. I mean, you've achieved so much success. People would say, really? And so I'd really love to start with, let's actually go back. Let's go back to where you were when you were, a young woman. Did you ever think that you'd be in this role working for a great big national bank? Like, what was that path like for you?
No, not at all. And I think, probably when people look at me, I've actually had people say, that they think I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and it could not be further from the truth. So, I've spent most of my life living on an island. When I was little, I have a twin sister and an older brother, and my parents were high school sweethearts. uh, Soulmates. I think they still are soulmates. They're one of the lucky few. But we didn't have very much money when we were growing up. We lived on Quadra Island. We had a hand dug well, a generator, and we lived in a log house. But our house was full of love. So my childhood was very, very happy. And then we moved to Vancouver Island, and my parents were sort of struggling. Uh, they used to say that we lived below the poverty line, but again, my childhood was happy. So that's all that mattered, and had lots of love. And then my parents decided that they were, going to try to find a different way to maybe bring more income in, and they got into finance. And they
Mm.
worked really, really hard. I remember my dad coming home at like 9 o'clock at night. My parents would pull long hours. They worked really, really hard, and then they built up a successful practice. And I'm one of those kind of people who has an inquisitive mind. I'm interested in everything. I'm very passionate about pretty much everything in life. But I decided that, finance and wealth management was something that was really interesting to me. And so I joined my family's practice. I went to university and joined the practice, and I got married. But there were definitely some struggles along the way that to bring me here.
So, what were some of those struggles, Anna? I mean, like you said, people look at you and they see all your success, but I think it's really important. I mean, we call the Woman of Inspiration podcast. Women of Inspiration don't wait for the opportunities; they create them. And I've always said that every woman has a story, and actually every person has a story. So I know that you and I connected because we had both experienced being a single mom at one point in time, and so. You know, um, I know there's always single moms listening. There's always women in transition that are leaving, partnerships and marriages. And I just really believe that your story can help really inspire them and motivate them and see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. So sometimes you can plan and do everything right, and life is unexpected. As you know, things happen that you can't plan for. Life throws you curveballs. So I've always tried to do, everything right. You can never be 100% right, but I tried to follow all of society's rules. Be a good person. You know. Get married, be very careful, do my planning, have a baby, have 2 babies, and pretty soon, I found myself, the person that I was married to, had some mental illness. That's something that people don't see when they look at another person, what's going on, in between the ears or behind the wall. And he started self-medicating, and he became a substance abuser. And so I had a 5-month-old baby and a 2-year-old, and pretty soon I found myself married to somebody who was in jail for scaring me a lot, a lot. I still went to work every day, but it was really hard. And that period where you're sort of staying in bed one morning or late at night, and and you wake up and you think, holy heck, I feel really scared. Like, how did I get to this place? Um, that's really hard to go through. Sorry, I'm going to try not to cry. Ooh. Um, that period, I decided it was so hard. It was so hard. So if you find yourself in a situation and you're struggling, first of all, what you need to do is surround yourself with people that can be a good support network to you. Number two, I want you to know that if you find yourself in um, an abusive situation, it's not because you chose that. It just sort of happens to you, but you can get out. And you have to be strategic and careful, and you have to get help, but you can get out. And when I went through that period, what I realized is, holy heck, if
Mm.
I can go through this and I can literally make it out alive, literally, um, I can do anything. And when
Mm.
I went through that, it was when you live long enough in life, everybody goes through challenges. Everybody. Nobody gets out without a challenge in life. But when you go through a period where you are challenged to your very core, you can choose to use that to your advantage. And the way that you would do that is it acts as a reset for your life. I mean, you can reset your life at any time, but when you're challenged like that, um, your brain converts like 80% of your daily habits to like autopilot, right? So when you go through that, it's like, hold up, let's reevaluate everything. Let's look at how we're doing. How are you proceeding towards the future? And so what that enabled me to do was really think about what could I have done better? What could I change? Uh, was I holding myself back? Because before that, I've always been a very motivated person, but I felt like I was spinning my wheels. And then I went through this very traumatic experience, and I did a lot of thinking and a lot of self reflection. And what I realized is that I was actually holding myself back. So I made it through that period safely. Um, the person was held accountable. Um, I had a lot of love and support around me. So I was incredibly grateful for the company that I work for my family and my friends. I realized how fortunate I really was. But I also realized that this fear of failure that I had had before that held me back from really going for it,
Mm.
going for whatever it is that I wanted in life, whether it was, career or travel or anything, that actually held me back from my peak success.
Mm.
And so I find that, and actually, one thing I want to talk about, if you look at men and women, what I have seen happen, particularly in younger women, is that I think sometimes young men will wait until they're 70% ready and then they just go for it. And I think that lots of times women, I mean, I don't know if it's society or how we came to be like this, but a lot of times we wait until we're 120% ready. We want to make sure that we're ready for it. But what you end up doing is you're actually holding yourself back.
Mm.
And so, having gone through this period, I understood what real fear was, and so stuff doesn't really scare me anymore. I still get nervous, but
Mm.
I am way more able to handle, like rejection or like little stumbles or little failures because I'm not afraid anymore. I can put real fear into perspective, and being nervous about, you know, I don't know, applying for a new job or taking a calculated risk. It's now I can say, okay, well, those are just my nerves talking, and I can push through those. And failure, because if you think about it, uh, I felt like I had failed initially, having put myself in that situation. How could have I married this person? They, I could not have picked a probably a worse person to marry, to be honest. But
Yes, you could have. You could have picked my ex-husband.
there you go, right? But the thing is that life happens to you, and sometimes curveballs are thrown at you, and a lot of it is outside of your control. So all you can really control is this right here and your actions. I know that sounds so basic and simple, but that's all you can control. And if you look at the most successful in people in life, people look at them, they think that person has never failed. People look at you, Monica, and they say, "Oh, she's never failed." But that is so not true. I mean, in order to be successful, you have to be like, well, like those little punching dolls that you knock them down, they bounce right back and off they go, and then they get knocked down, off they go. It's the same kind of thing, right? You just have to dust yourself off and change the way that you look at failure. Failure is not having a stumbling block or making a mistake. Failure is probably just giving up. I mean, it's grit that will make you successful. It is the absolute love and belief in self that will drive you forward. And that was another thing that I realized when I went through that, because when you're in an abusive situation or abusive relationship, uh, that person has a fractured ego inside of themselves, and they have control over another person to try to like fill the cracks in their soul or their spirit.
Mm.
And that that person, and there aren't people like that out there. You know, this person happened to have mental illness, but I have come across other people like that where they, that's just how they had to make themselves feel good about themselves. And one thing I realized was I like me. I like me. I don't want to change me. I don't need to change me to be somebody else to be successful. I decided that I can be successful being my happy, positive self. I'm a nice person, but you can still be a real go-getter. You don't have to be, you know, mean or cruel or any of those things. So that was another thing that I learned, um, and I learned that in business too. So I work with my father, I'm a partner with him. My dad is 6'3", tall guy, big, broad shoulders. I'm very petite, 5'4". You know, uh, a lot of our clients had seen me growing up in the industry as a child, literally, answering phones and, working as a teenager to help my parents grow their business. And so one of the things I struggled with as a young woman is having our clients recognize me as an
Mm.
adult and a mature individual. And so I was always trying to be my father. And
Mm.
you'll run into this if you have like some sort of a mentor or somebody you really look up to. You think, oh, I have to be that person in their role in order to be successful. And then one day it finally hit me. I don't have to be him. I can just be me. Like he's totally different. He has an analytical brain. He's a driver. I'm an empathetic driver. We're very different. And what I brought to the table wasn't trying to be him. You can never be a better version of somebody else. You can only be the best version of you. And so realizing that I could just bring myself to the table and me was good enough and I could just grow me. And once I did that, I lost my fear of failure. I stopped holding myself back. I started pushing past discomfort or, being uncomfortable. I started growing myself. It was like like a rocket ship. It was unbelievable. And I haven't looked back. It's been incredible.
And for those that aren't watching this video right now, they're actually listening to it. Anna's got this great big desk and she's got all of these awards lined up there. And you are a Woman of Inspiration finalist. So congratulations on that. You've been nominated and you've got such an inspirational story, Anna. And you said something really important where, and I can relate to this, is that because of the adversity that you experienced, you're like you became fearless. And
Yeah.
it's almost like when you're at the worst or you're at the lowest, you're like, I'm still breathing. I still survived. So what could be worse than that moment? And so,
Yeah.
that punching, and I am visualizing that I think it was like a plastic clown or something. I don't think they
Yeah.
sell them anymore, but I remember from my childhood the same
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
When it just keeps on coming back. But it is about taking all of those lessons and believing in you that you can do it. And I built Woman of Inspiration because I had one person that believed in me. So Anna, as you were going through that time, who was that one person for you that believed in Anna that helped you even believe in you even more? Did you have that one person?
Oh, I'm so lucky. I have a whole family. Yeah. And so I believe in me, first of all. You have to have
Mhm.
absolute self-love. I always talk about keep your self-love absolute. But I have a whole family. My family's amazing. I
Mm,
am so fortunate. I have a whole family that believes me. My parents always told me, "You can do it. You can be whoever you want to be as
mm,
long as you believe in yourself," and that's true. You can be whoever you want to be. You may not get there through the route that you thought it was going to be or the path that you originally took. It might take a you might veer off left or right, but you can be anything that you want to be. You just have to believe in yourself. So, yes, I was very fortunate. I have a wonderful family. They are incredible. But I think that's something that's really, really important is to always surround yourself with people that are going to love you and support you and raise you up. Don't be around people who are going to tear you down, set those people aside and walk away. You need people that support you, and you need people that are going to challenge you too. I think it's also important to surround yourself with friends and mentors and people that are going to challenge you and inspire you because they will help you along your path and they will help you become a better version of you.
So, what words of advice can you give to if there's some sort of listener listening right now of just to take that next step to go towards that vision that take that next step to overcoming something that really scares them right now, whether that's a transition in a job or leaving a relationship, or even talking to a financial advisor.
I think it's really important to take a calculated risk. Uh, you have to take calculated risk for everything. I'm a big studier of philosophy. I just that's what I do late at night. I don't stay up late watching TV. I read philosophy. Anyway, one of the people that I've been reading lately is Marcus Aurelius, and he
Mm,
lived 2,000 years ago. And one of the things that he said, and I just love the fact that you can have these truths about life that transcend thousands of years and they're still valid today, that there is no guarantee for the future. All you have is
mm,
right now, this point right here. That's
mm,
all you've got. So it's important to plan for the future, but you also have to live for today. So don't let your fear of failure hold you back. If I had one piece of advice
mm,
if I could have learned this, I don't know, 15 years earlier, I would be so much further than I am today, is to don't let fear of failure hold you back. You only live once, so you might as well go for it. So be like Nike and just do it. Be like Nike and just do it. And you will find that not only are you more successful, but more importantly, you're you're actually being more true to yourself, true to your own true desires of the way that you want to live your life. And so you end up being a more happier and fulfilled person because you're not waiting for tomorrow to bring the future to you. You're seeking it out right now. So live for today. That's all you have.
And you've got to be one of the most positive people that I've ever met. And I love the fact that you're like tenacious and you go after what you want. Um, and you're ambitious. And that is okay. And you step into the spotlight. But can I ask you, were you always comfortable stepping into that spotlight? Even when we talk about the Woman of Inspiration Awards, like share that you've been nominated. Were you comfortable? Are you comfortable? Or is that like a continuous kind of, challenge for your own self to kind of go, you're worth it, just step into it and go for it?
That's a really good question. I'm kind of an interesting combination. I'm a very much an extroverted person. I am a twin, so I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm identical twin sister. And so, as a child, I always, you sort of get more attention as a twin. I'm definitely an extroverted individual. I love being around people, but to be the center of attention, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest. So I started a YouTube channel. I've done, I don't know, over 155 financial videos. It was not natural for me at all. That you want to talk about discomfort? It was so uncomfortable. My first video, I took 70 takes. 70. And I didn't even do it. I didn't even like post it because I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating. I was so nervous. And I showed my mom. She's like, Anna, you have to breathe. I'm like, oh, right. And So no, not at all. I don't feel comfortable being the center of attention. It makes me feel uncomfortable. But I have a policy, and that is get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I
Mm,
want to be uncomfortable, so I'm not just coasting all the time, right?
mm.
Uh, so I continually try to challenge myself, whatever it is, whether it's like in fitness, you know, self development, in business, efforts towards the community. I strongly believe in making the community a better place. I feel like I'm a very fortunate human being, and so I want to give back to the community. But no, being center of anyone's attention, on a bigger scale, it doesn't make me comfortable. But I think it's important, and if I could use this opportunity to inspire
Mhm.
one person, there's got to be somebody who's listening who maybe is realizing that they're holding themselves back a bit. If I can inspire one person to really go for it, well, then that in itself is reward all along.
And so that first video you recorded, I think the number is like 70,000. Isn't it 70,000, that first video that you recorded?
Oh,
Isn't that how many views
no,
it got? Or
I
am I
haven't looked lately. I know I've got a couple of million accumulated views. I think I
Oh,
honestly
sorry,
haven't.
a couple
Yeah, no,
million,
no, not
not
no, no, not so
70,000.
that. No, I had like 600 views of the first one. No, so this is the thing. Like people look at my video. I get people reach out to me all the time, like across Canada. I talk to a guy in Saudi Arabia, like all the time. So I put out these financial videos. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm out there, just trying to be positive and share good financial, advice. And I get people that reach out to me all the time. So it's really, really fun, and I enjoy it. And people often say, "Oh, you're such a natural," and it's like, whoa, so not a natural. I had to work so hard to get to where I am today on camera. I had to work so hard. So that's the other thing, you don't have to be really good at whatever it is you're trying to do to start. I wasn't. Go look at my YouTube channel. My first videos are not good. They're not very good. But I kept at it, and it has been the best thing I have ever done. It's the best thing I've ever done. It has challenged me. It's made me a better advisor. It's made me a better communicator. It's made me better at thinking efficiently and boiling down a thought that I want to convey to clients or whomever. It's been the best thing I ever did. So sometimes the hardest things you're ever going to do are going to be the best for you in the long run. But no, I was not natural at all. It took a lot of hard work and effort. But if you look at studies, statistically speaking, the people that are successful are the ones that have grit. Grit is not giving up. You just got to keep trying, and you're going to start from zero, and you're just going to keep stepping up and moving up the ladder. And eventually you'll look back and you're like, holy heck, look at this mountain I climbed.
Mm. Well said, well said. I had to ask that question because there is not one woman that I have met that is not a little bit uncomfortable about stepping into that spotlight. And so from speaking with, you and reconfirming, like how scared you were that very first video that you put out into the world, it's just like that. And I have to agree. I am going to start doing a TikTok, and I am petrified of doing it, but I'm like going to go, this is my first getting serious with TikTok stuff. And I think we can all relate to that. We're humans.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that people are always worried about is like, what if I put myself out there and people think I look dumb or I sound dumb or whatever? They judge me. Well, you know what? If they think you sound dumb, they're not going to watch you anyway. So problem solved. And the people that are watching you like you and they connect with you. So don't worry about it. You just have to start somewhere, and you just have to go for it. You only live once. So why live a life of half regrets about things you wish you could have done? Why not just do it and see where it takes you?
Hey, I'm going to ask you another question too now, and this is always a big one. And, have you ever felt imposter syndrome? Like with social media and the comparisons out there, there's that comparison piece and that imposter syndrome. And, you're putting out, some really great information into the world. Have you ever felt that? And if you have, how did you overcome it?
So I've never felt imposter syndrome about like my job or stuff that I'm doing, but I have had the very good fortune of working for National Bank Financial, and I have been recognized quite a bit. I've been very, very fortunate, and I definitely have felt imposter syndrome, like, what, do I deserve these awards? I just feel so honored and humble to have received the recognition that I have received. That, yeah, I mean, I definitely have felt just in awe that I am being recognized, and it's like, are they crazy? Like, are they seeing me? Like, why are they picking me? Like, I don't know if I deserve this. So yeah, I mean, even this being nominated, I was so honored to be nominated for the Universal Women's Network, and it's just, I don't know if it's just, you know, humility, and the feeling of honor, but yeah, I mean, and at no step of the way did I ever feel like, yeah, I deserve this. Not at all. No, not at all. I have felt incredibly grateful, and I don't know that if I have overcome that, but I know that it is really important to celebrate your wins. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of times as women, we like to be humble and, you know, not celebrate it. But if you receive an award, you need to sing it from the rooftops and yell it from the mountains. And here's why: because you will be inspiring others. And it's important to receive recognition. Like, if someone is recognizing you, it's important to just give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate that and say, you know, I worked really hard and I'm proud of myself. And maybe you'll be inspiring other people in your place, because you don't know. I mean, especially in our industry, it's 75% men. So that's not something that we talked about, but I work in finance. There are not a lot of women in our industry, and that our industry has had to fight to get to 25% female representation. I mean, when my mother joined the industry, my father was the financial advisor, or I guess they would call them stockbrokers back in the day.
Mhm.
She wanted to become a stockbroker too, a financial advisor. And the management at the time, it's obviously a different company, and a couple of decades ago, they said, "What? Why is it enough for you to work underneath your husband? Why do you want this so much?" And my mother said, "Because I want the responsibility." So there's a lot of industries out there where it's male dominated still. My aunt works in one. She's a log scaler. She's got a log scaling company. Talk about the logging industry, or like being an electrician or whatever it is. I mean, there's lots of industries where it's still male dominated, and if you are a woman in those industries, gosh darn it, you better take a leadership position and you better shout it from the rooftops. And if you get recognized, you need to tell people about it, because it's sort of like planting a garden. So my parents moved into this neighborhood about 3 decades ago, and nobody really had any flowers. My mom is a bit of a green thumb, and she planted this beautiful garden with this nice orderly vegetable garden and fruit trees and big blooming plants and blooming hydrangea standards and lilies and orchids and all the rest of it. Well, people started to stop by and looking at the house and taking pictures because this garden was fabulous. Well, you know what? It's starting to inspire the neighbors. Pretty soon, all the neighbors had little flower gardens, right? And so you can think about it as planting a flower and watching the flower grow, and maybe you'll inspire your neighbor to plant a flower too. So it's important to recognize your wins and to sing it from the rooftops.
I love it. And you know what? You went from one right into my next, because I swear what I was going to ask you is, why is it so important to celebrate the achievements of women so that you can inspire
Yeah.
others? And that is so, so true. And that is one of the hardest things for us to do, is kind of, here's one of my mugs here, to take up space, to own it, and to really be proud and loud about everything that you're doing, because it's not about the ego. It's about
Um,
setting an example and giving others permission to do the same. And when we can do that, we all rise. Like, that's what we forget, is that it's not about ego. It's about really lifting everybody else up. And one thing I love that you said so much, and women in underrepresented industries to take on those leadership roles. When I hear that there's an industry that's underrepresented by women, I'm like, run, ladies, run, because that means, for me, I see opportunity. And I'm
yeah.
like, there's a clear path, and we all bring something to the table. So I absolutely love that you have such great role models surrounding you, and are just really knocking it out of the park in male dominated industries and not afraid to step into that success. Super
Yeah,
important.
you gave me goosebumps just with what you're saying. I just got to tell you, and I will say that credit to you for that. I learned that from you about, yeah, about really, I mean, the really taking up ownership of it and the importance of that. I learned that from you because I've been, listening to your emails and following you, and I think that's something that is key takeaway that I will take and I'm going to pass on to my female networks. I think that's really important. So thank you for bringing that forward. I know that you yourself are incredible. I mean, the stuff that you've just created this. You've created it all. It's all you. I mean, it's just amazing, and you really are making a difference as far as bringing women forward and inspiring others. And I think one thing that we sort of discovered is that, especially in male dominated industries, companies are looking for somebody to take up that role, take up that leadership role. So if you're working in a company or an industry, there's opportunity there for you to really shine and absolutely go for it because there's maybe somebody else behind you that is going to take it one step further. We build upon the women that have brought us here today. If you
Mm.
look at, your mothers or your grandmothers, or your great grandmothers, it's steps forward, right? And so we build upon each other's shoulders is really. And so celebrating that and being a leader in your community and bringing forward women's rights, it means that our daughters will have more equality when they're our age.
And thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. Your words mean a lot coming from you because I truly do respect you as a woman and as a business leader. So thank you so much, Anna. I would like to switch the gears just slightly and talk about support her for a bit because um and then if you're okay, we're going to talk about something else about, taking those opportunities to really recognize those individuals that are inspiring to you to kind of bring them into the fold. But, 2024 for us is about really evolving the Universal Women's Network by welcoming the men to the conversation that are allies and supporters, not the ones that are pulling us down, but the ones that are actually pushing us forward as equals. And so I would really love to hear about, how that, who are the supporters in your world, Anna, um, pushing you forward.
Oh, I've been so fortunate. And one of the things that Morgan Housel talks about success, he's a financial writer whom I think I follow. He talks about, you know, uh, some of it is luck, a lot of it is hard work, but you have to have good people that support you. So my father has been an amazing supporter. Uh, and there's been a couple of men in the company that I've worked for that have been incredible. So the first one, his name was Martin Levine. He was a previous president of National Bank Financial. And when I had my baby, my first baby, my husband was suffering from substance abuse and kind of going down the rabbit hole, and he lost his job. I took 6 weeks off of work and I returned to work and I had a cesarean. And my husband stayed home and looked after the baby because we had just bought a house and we were going to lose a house if I didn't go to work because there was no maternity program at the time. Again, male dominated industry, they were kind of, slow to change. Well, I had a conversation with him, and what do you know? They created a maternity program. And because they created a maternity program, other companies that were in the financial sector created maternity programs for their wealth management advisors. So you can have like this, and that was all just off of, I wasn't, I was just telling him my experience, right? And then he took that and he ran with it. And because he's a leader in our industry, he inspired other leaders to make a change too. So he
Mm,
was a big that for me, that came at the same time that I was sort of going through this downward fall into a abusive relationship. A recognition, and he just listened to me at a time when I needed it most,
mm,
and he validated me as a person. I will never forget that. I will never forget that. And then the other one, supporter who's been amazing is the current president, Jonathan DeRoche of National Bank Financial. He's an incredible supporter. And he has not only supported me, he supports everybody. So I think when you come across people like that,
mm,
they're the kind of person who makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives because they're just incredible leaders and they're authentic and generous of spirit.
mm,
And when you are a leader, you can have like a tiny little conversation with someone. You just take 5 minutes of your time to authentically listen to them. It can make a huge difference. And Jonathan is, in the sort of social media. He's a leader in the social media and finance, uh, and he really kind of took me under his wing, and he did it in such a kind way. He, would give me pointers, but it was never like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this. You should do that." He'd say, "Hey, great job on your video. Uh, that's great. Have you considered doing it, this way?" And he did that over and over again. And just, when you're trying something new, I was a single mom, had 2 kids, little kids, like a 2 and a 4-year-old, is trying this new thing, and I was struggling. Like, life was hard. It was not easy. And to have somebody come and just give you that little bit of support, little bit of boost, like, "Don't give up. Keep going." It kept me going, and he gave me really great pointers. And just having that positive, supporter who was happened to be a male, I mean, he's just been wonderful. So as a man, if you're listening to this podcast, like, my God, you have such power to help the women around you. And it doesn't have to be this big heroic thing to make a huge impact in somebody's life. It could be, like I said, 5 minutes of your time authentically listening to somebody, giving them your full attention, and giving them, your advice as a leader. You can make a huge difference in a person's life. So yeah, I've had some really great supporters. They happen to be at this company, but they've made a huge difference for me, and they've helped keep me going sometimes when I felt like quitting, to be honest. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been very beneficial for me.
Well, I love to hear that because you know that I'm a big support her. And I hope that the video will and the podcast will be shared with your support hers because I think it's really important for leaders in positions of power, especially right now. It's so critical that leaders in positions of power, whether you're a female leading a company or whether you're a man leading a company, if you are leading by example, to be visible and to step in and own that spotlight, just as we talked about before, how important it is
Yeah,
for women to do that. And what I'm finding is that there's this, well, hold on a sec, there's room for everybody else, and the really big leaders are kind of a little shy about really
yeah,
being celebrated, which is, I think we have to call them on that, to be honest with you, because if you set the bar where you're owning that spotlight, and you're claiming that power, provides others the opportunity to do the same. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. And I think maybe it's one of those things where, I imagine, I don't know, I'm not a man, but maybe they just feel uncomfortable. It's like they want to support women, but it's like, what if I say the wrong thing, or
Mm,
I do something wrong? No, you have to celebrate it. And like you say, you'll inspire others to
mm,
make an even bigger impact. One of the things that I had a chat with Laurent Ferreira, he's the CEO of the bank, and I was talking to him about women issues, and he has also been a supporter. And what do you know? He's talking about it in all of his presentations about how he wants to bring forward, women and promote women. And I see that National Bank just named a president of one of the divisions of the bank is a woman. I mean, it's amazing, right? So yeah, you can have a huge impact, and it is really important to celebrate. Just like it's important for me to celebrate and sing it from the rooftops, it's important for you to celebrate it and sing it from the rooftops, because that's how you really inspire change. You
mm.
need both men and women working together to bring change forward. I 100% agree with you.
Oh my gosh, like literally goosebumps. And here's my hype shirt. I wore it for this special occasion today because I think we can make change. And I think it's by being vulnerable and stepping out. Maybe this hasn't been talked about enough. And I'm glad that we are actually shining some light on that. And I absolutely think that the champions and our support hers need that spotlight just as much as we do. I think it's
Mm,
important for them to have that as well, because they are in the position of power and they can drive change. And obviously, look at all the change that is made. Like, that's just
yeah,
phenomenal. So,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, Anna, for sharing so many words of wisdom and sharing your a story and being so authentic. I, one thing I'd love to for you to share is, what are some of your I mean, you talk about the meditation, you talk about the philosophy work that you do, but, how do you set yourself up for success? You're always in the right mindset, I mean, you're a mom, you lead this great career, but how do you keep yourself motivated? Is there any sort of, like, routine that you're like, "It's my daily, it's my weekly?" What would that be for you?
So we're talking about self-care. Self-care is
Mhm.
incredibly important. I think as for women, trying to do it all, right? Lots of times you're a career person, you've got kids, and sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. Now, as a parent, obviously, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't be your very best. So it's really important to have self-care for your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. So for me, I have a desk job. I sit on my butt all day and I have so much body energy that I just have to get it out. And I have found that exercise keeps me
Mm.
super positive. It works off any kind of stress from the day. And it's just like a little happy pill. You go out and you work out and you just feel happy. And if you see me working out, I'll have a huge grin from side to side because it just makes me feel incredibly good. And I also find that exercise, like whether it's weightlifting or whatever it is you're doing, it's almost meditative for me. I have one of those sort of monkey brains that's just the like going at 100,000 miles per hour. But when I'm working out, particularly if I'm doing weights, I can't do that. I have to think about what I'm doing, and so it's a way of quieting the mind. It makes me sleep better, and it just reduces stress. So I cannot emphasize enough that exercise is very good for your health. I think it's really important to have life within balance. So, one of the things that I try to never do, because in the pursuit of success, if you push too hard, you can give up everything else in your life, right? So it's really important to set aside time for your kids and time for you to chill and have a balanced, happy life. So the weekends, I never do work on the weekends. It's for my kids. When I'm on kid duty, I am on kid duty, and that's it. I do work in the evenings and work during the day, but make sure that I fit in regular workouts as part of my routine and a healthy diet. I think self care is really important. And lately, I've been trying to prioritize sleep a little bit more. It's one area I probably don't get enough. But yeah, I think exercise is probably the biggest one, yoga, and, just having a healthy diet and loving yourself.
I love the happy pill as exercise because that is, literally those walks for me were so, so important. I stopped running, I started walking again, but I was just like, oh my gosh, like big grin. And I used to make it actually a little thing where I'd walk by people and like, good morning or good afternoon. And I
Yeah.
swear they're like, what is she on? Right. But I'm like,
Exercise. I'm
hello.
on exercise. Yeah. No,
But
it's
I
great.
love and I think it's really important. I mean, you talk about having the weekends as your sacred space and,
Hmm.
um, entrepreneurship or carving yourself in your career, it could be easy just to, work 7 days a week, and I am extremely guilty of that. I've actually only just started taking weekends off, like, the past couple years. I know it just it couldn't have happened any other way, so there was no guilt attached to that at all, but I realized how important carving that sacred space is, for your own well-being. So, anyways, I subscribe to everything that you're talking about. Great words of advice. I think we need to remind each other a little bit more about that. And if we fall off the apple cart, a little bit of non-judgment, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, you always have to give something up, right? To if you're, so I give up TV in the evenings. It's a lot of sleep. Sometimes I've been up till, regularly up till midnight and, working on stuff and sometimes 1 in the morning,
Mhm.
Um, so you have to give some things up, but I think you can still have it all and have a balanced life, if that sounds balanced to you. I do think you can have it all, but you will have to give up some things, but maybe those things, like for me, watching TV, I could care
Mm.
less about watching TV, right? Um, yeah, having a balanced life, but you have to have those yeah, sacred spaces. Whatever it is, it has to work within who you are as a person. You have to have it, otherwise you just burn yourself out.
Beautiful. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I am looking forward to giving you a great big hug in person very, very
I
soon
know.
at the awards, and talking more about how we can really raise the bar to inspire change. Still by, with the common goal of advancing women, but really harnessing the power of our support hers to get that happening so we can actually do it a lot faster, because we need all hands on deck. But this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast. So, my last question is going to be, Anna, what is your definition of a woman of inspiration?
Oh, my definition of a woman of inspiration is someone who is bold, who's strategic, who has courage, and who just lives life to its fullest.
Hmm.
That's my definition.
If I had a mirror right now, I'd be like, that's you.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the award ceremony. I think it's going to be amazing. And the thing that I'm excited the most about is engaging with other incredible women. There's going to be amazing women at that event. If you haven't got your tickets, you should get it because it's going to be incredible. And I'm really excited.
Well, you know what? And I was building this whole event so that, anybody walking in off the street could be like, I won the lottery. How could you possibly get all these incredible people into the room and be inspired,
Yeah.
right? I honestly used to say that the Women of Inspiration Awards, it's like almost like if you could bottle that energy, you'd be a gazillionaire, because there is truly an energy in the room where you have so much positivity, and where everybody's just there for a common purpose. So I look forward to seeing you very soon. If people want to learn more about you, maybe tap into that fabulous YouTube that you have and listen to a little bit more of your knowledge and your financial wellness. Where can they find out more about you?
Well, they can Google me. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn. It's Hilberry, Hilberry, Anna Hilberry. Yeah, I'm all over the internet. If you put my name in there, I think you should be able to find me fairly easily.
Wonderful. And if you are tapping into Anna on LinkedIn or wherever, just say, I heard your fabulous podcast. We know where it's coming from. That'd be helpful. But for those of you that are listening or viewing, I just would inspire you to really share this podcast. There is always going to be somebody that needs to listen to the messages that we talk about, and especially with inspiring women like yourself, Anna. So thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. It's Friday, and what a great way to end the week. And I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here today and an honor to know you, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. And thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Have a great day, and I will see you
Okay.
very soon.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.